Orasutairu, a Pokemon fanfiction, by Sanin_Saiyajin. The sun shone brightly, showering her glorious light on the remote Pallet town. The sun's rays reflected from the leaves of the trees and the rooftop along with the various landscape that shaped Pallet town gave it a calm but luminous shine. It was a small remote town located at the south of Viridian City. Pallet only got its recognition because of one resident of the small town, Samuel Oak, popularly known as Professor Oak. One of the greatest minds of the Pokemon world, his greatest achievement was the Pokédex, a small supercomputer that contained information of almost every Pokemon found in every region in the world. Professor Oak rose to fame after winning the Indigo League with the help of his strong and varied Pokemon team. He then went on to become a Pokemon champion and held the reign before deciding to become a Pokemon professor. He became well known across the world after his invention of the Pokédex. Even with all the achievements of Oak, Pallet Town remained remote and never became too well known. The residents of Pallet were kind-hearted and were all living peacefully. In the lab of the said professor stayed two dragonic creatures who were giving a hard time to Oak. "Why won't you guys let me see your egg?" Oak whined. Both Charizard and Dragonite let out a loud rumble as a response before standing protectively around their nest. "Fine, you can have it your way." Oak rubbed his temples in defeat. He then turned towards a guy who was standing behind him. The said guy was watching the interaction with an amused look on his pale freckled face. The guy looked to be in his late 20s. He was wearing a white lab coat over a red shirt and blue pants. He was one of the assistants of Oak's who worked in his building. "Tucker, can you please bring me Delia?" Oak asked his assistant. "Yes, Professor." Tucker straightened up and left the room. "You called for me, Sam?" A beautiful woman with her auburn hair tied in a low ponytail questioned as she entered the room. She was wearing an lab coat similar to Tucker's except she had a small metal tag that said, "Head Breeder," on it. The woman was Delia Ketchum, the head breeder of Oak's lab. A breeder is a person who takes care of Pokemon and raises them with care and love. To become a breeder, one needed to graduate from a Pokemon Doctor's Academy and then getting a recognition certificate from any regional professor. "Yes, Delia. I require your assistance here. As you can see, Charizard here has laid an egg for the first time in her life. I want to examine if there are any abnormalities with the eggs, but she and Dragonite won't let me near their egg. Can you please help me with it?" Oak explains. "Sure thing, Professor," Delia says with confidence and makes her way to the pair of dragons. "I can do this." "I can't do this," Delia admits with a defeated tone after failing to get near the egg dozens of times. "What will we do about the two of you?" Oak sighs. "The two haven't allowed me to enter this room for about 6 months now. When I was finally granted permission to enter today, I was pretty excited, but it seems my excitement was for nothing." He grunts. Delia lets out a chuckle at this. "We'll try again tomorrow, Sam. It's getting late. I'll go home now. It's about time for Ash's class to end." "Ash, haha, that little ball of sunshine. Bring him tomorrow. It's been a while since I last saw him. Knowing him, he would also be missing me in my lab. Or the Pokemon to be more specific," Oak says while chuckling, but he adds the last part as an afterthought. "I will bring Ash tomorrow. He must be dying to play with all the Pokemon in the coral." Delia laughed at the image of her son's exited face. "But for now, I have to leave. See ya, Professor," Delia says and packs her stuff to leave. "Bye, Delia. Be careful while going home," Oak bids with a fatherly tone. The sound of the alarm followed by the loud booming voice of a certain redhead woke up a small boy. "Ash dear, get out of bed right now or I am not taking you to Professor Oak's lab," shouted Delia from downstairs. At this, Ash jolted awake, causing him to topple over and fall from his bed. He looked to be around 5 years old and had messy black hair and a small zigzag mark on each cheek. "I am awake, Mom," Ash grunted in a grumpy voice while rubbing the sore spot on his head, courtesy to the fall. "You better be, young man, otherwise I am not taking you to meet all the cool Pokemon," Delia exclaims while entering the room. Though Delia was a loving mother who loved her son unconditionally, she was not one to tolerate someone who was not punctual. "Now get up and have breakfast. We'll go to the coral in an hour," Delia informs while smiling at her son. "Okay, Mom." Ash makes his way to the kitchen and grins back at her. "Welcome, Ash, Delia. Professor. Oak greets his surrogate family with a warm smile. Delia greets Oak back, mirroring his smile. Professor Oak. Ash lets out an excited squeal before running to hug him. Oak embraces him back with the same enthusiasm. Professor. Professor. Let me see Charizard and Dragonite, please please please. Ash exclaims while excitedly hugging the professor and jumping up and down at the same time. Oak sweat drops before laughing and motions the duo of mother and son to follow him to his living room. Professor, did you get any further through yesterday's episode? Delia questions while entering her breeder mode. Sadly, no. Oak admits with a sigh. WHT episode mom. Are you guys watching some movie? Ash questions innocently, which makes the two laugh. No Ash. We are having a grown-up talk. You won't understand. Oak explains. You always say that. Grown-up talk. Okay fine. He pulls a sad face but quickly adds with an enthusiastic face, so can I see Charizard and Dragonite now? Oak laughs at his duality before giving in, haha. Fine, follow me, he says and leads Ash and Delia to the room where Charizard's nest is present. While they were going through the corridors, the professor and Delia were discussing about a possible strategy to approach the two dragons. They weren't aggressive by any means, but they also weren't ready to let them see the eggs. The trio finally reached the room and Ash excitedly skipped towards the nest while the two adults weren't looking. Hi Charizard. Hi Dragonite. Ash exclaimed loudly as he approached the two. Oak and Delia noticed the boy going near the two protective dragons and panicked. No matter how inaggressive the two may be, they are still nesting parents and were dangerous to be approached without caution. Ash, get back here. Both Oak and Delia shouted in unison, but Ash had already reached the nest. Both Delia and Oak rushed to bring him back, but the unthinkable happened. The two Pokémon, instead of guarding their nest, simply stepped away and let the kid approach the egg. The two adults stood watching the scene, dumbstruck with their feet glued to the spot. After a second of silence, Oak managed to whisper out a, "What just happened?" Just then, a bright white light emitted from the egg. Ash stared at the glowing egg with his mouth agape. What is this? What is happening? Ash questions Charizard, but she simply gave him what is equivalent of a Charizard smile. Dragonite then proceeded to pick up the egg and handed it to Ash. Ash took the egg from the dragon's hand and brought it close to himself. Instinctively he started rubbing the egg gently and mumbled soothing words to it. The egg then glowed more brightly than it did before. After a few seconds of glowing, the egg started morphing into an undescribable structure. One end of the egg started transforming into a tail-like shape, its opposite end formed a shape which represented a head, two small hands erupted from the region below the head. The morphing of the egg was finally completed and it stopped emitting the light. The egg was replaced by a small Charmander. The Charmander blinked twice before opening its blue eyes and stared at Ash while tilting its head. Can you please repeat what you just said, Professor? Delia questions with a shocked look. She and Professor Oak were currently in his lab. It's been about a month since Charmander hatched from his egg, and she and Professor Oak were discussing about him. I said, Charmander is abnormal. Oak explains while rubbing his temples with a sigh. But how is that possible? Why and what caused it? Delia questions with a frown, trying to think of an answer. Over the course of the month, Charmander and Ash have grown practically inseparable, neither one willing to leave the side of the other. The only times Ash and Charmander were separated were when Ash went to school. Other than that, no external force were able to separate the two from each other. It felt almost as if the two were destined to be together, something like soulmates. The two of them would eat together, laugh together, sleep together, those two were practically one being. Now Delia was in a rather difficult predicament. She was wondering how she'll break the news about Charmander's abnormality to Ash. It would break her baby's heart. But I'll add this abnormality of Charmander might prove to be benefiting or disastrous based on how he grows up. Oak adds with a calculated look. Evolution. Do you mean Charmander has a problem that'll affect his evolution? Is that what you're implying, Professor? I really can't catch up right now. Delia questions with a quizzical look. She was a breeder. Yes, but she wasn't a Pokémon professor. She didn't have the knowledge of Pokémon like Oak does. The only thing she could do right now was wait for Oak's explanation. No, Charmander doesn't have any such evolutionary problem. I believe, Oak clarifies, though he wasn't sure himself. Whatever problem Charmander had, it could or could not affect Charmander's evolution, only time can tell. Professor, you're confusing me right now. Can you explain this to me in simple terms? Delia asks while sighing. Professor Oak was never good at touching the real important point, but to be honest, no professor was. As you know, Charmander's parents are not from the same species. Oak explains, to which Delia hums in understanding. Whenever two different species breed, the offspring takes the form of the parents whose genes are dominant. Oak looks at Delia to see if she was following. Seeing that she was nodding at what he was saying, Oak continues, the submissive genes of the other parent develop inside the Pokémon's internal structure as egg moves. Yes, Professor. Delia paused for a second before saying, wait. Are you telling me that Charmander's genetic functions are different from his kind? She while finally starting to get the grasp on what Oak wanted to say. Exactly. I don't know what caused it, but Charmander seems to inherit both his father's and mother's genes equally, making him a perfect hybrid. Oak says while excitedly standing up from his seat. Charmander is a medical miracle. A being more special than shinies. The first of his kind. Oak dreamily exclaims. Delia, completely ignoring her bosses, Professor Fitz, decided to add a question. But as Charmanders normally evolves into Charmeleon or beyond, their dragonic nature SLW only grows. Not so much that they will be labeled a dragon type, but still, their dragonic energy grows exponentially as compared to their Charmander stage. Delia analyses carefully and continues, so if we take their normal nature in consideration, Charmander might become a full dragon type by the time it becomes a Charizard. Contradictory to their normal typing, that is fire flying. You're catching up well, Delia. I came to that analysis myself, but considering that Charmander isn't a normal specimen like his kind, it's a tough call. We won't know anything about him until the time comes. We can come up with many theories, but the ultimate result can only be known when Charmander evolves. Oak sighs in defeat and relief for now. You're right. But that brings me the question, what about Ash? Delia asks with a frown. Ash won't be willing to give up Charmander for some experiment, knowing her son. No, he would never. No worries, we won't separate Charmander from Ash. Charmander belongs to him anyway. Oak shrugs. Taking him away will be labeled as Pokémon theft, he jokes, reassuring Delia. What do you mean by, Charmander belongs to Ash anyway? Delia questions with a confused look. I said what I meant, Delia. From the moment when Charizard and Dragonite gave Charmander's egg to Ash, Charmander got his owner. Even if we were to take Charmander away from Ash, I don't know what Charizard and Dragonite would do. So, it's best if we keep Ash and Charmander's relation going as it is. Oak clarifies with a tone in his voice that left no room for doubt. Of course, it made sense. Dragonite did hand over Charmander's egg to Ash. The two of them were pretty shocked when that happened and wondered what made Dragonite hand the egg over to him. It's already been a month since that day, but they still haven't found out the reason why that happened. Maybe it's another one of the many Pokémon nature that humans can simply never understand. You realize another thing, Delia? Oak questions Delia while looking at her directly. What more, Professor? Was Delia's smart reply. Charmander is a dragon, the most delicate creatures in their early stages. What I mean to say is, Charmander's dragonic half will take much more time to mature, and also it will be more vulnerable to injuries in this stage. Oak explains with a serious look. This is where you come in. I want you to take proper care of Charmander till he is matured enough. I am giving you this responsibility because you are used to handling dragon types. I trust that you won't make any mistake while raising Charmander. He will be probably matured enough once he is 2 years old. I want you to take care of him until that time. Can I trust you with this responsibility? He asks with a sense of authority. Of course, Professor, you can count on me. And when Ash is old enough to be a trainer, you want him to start with Charmander as his starter, right? Delia questions while giving him a knowing smile. Oak can be very easy to read at times. Oak simply smiles as a response. Meanwhile, at the same time, in the opposite side of the town, 5-year-old Ash Ketchum and his partner Charmander were having a conversation while their eyes were glued to the television. Ladies and gentlemen, I welcome you all to the Indigo League. Countless of trainers fought their way through the various gym located around the region, and now, all of them are here to demonstrate their strength. May we all give a round of applause to these wondrous trainers who all worked hard to reach this stadium. A male voice came from the television. You see Charmander. After some years, the two of us will be standing there. Ash exclaims while pointing at the crowd of trainers that was visible in the television. After I get my license at the age of 10, the two of us with our Pokemon team will take this world with storm. Ash says with a determined look which was mirrored by Charmander. Charmander replied with his baby voice. Ash paused as if he just realized something. Charmander. I have a question, he said with his hand on his chin. Charmander tilted his head. You see, when I become 10, will you be willing to come with me to my journey? Ash questions while looking at Charmander with a hopeful look, to which Charmander gave an enthusiastic nod in return with twinkling eyes. Ash visibly brightened up at this. All right. Let's train to become the strongest. He cheered and hugged Charmander tightly. Charmander happily cheered and returned his hug. This moment would seem like a typical childish behavior to anyone else, but only the two of them knew how special it was, as it ignited a new and stronger flame of determination in both of their hearts. Ring. The mechanic sound of the alarm came into life as the minute hand of the alarm struck at 12 while the hour hand was resting in 5. This startling sound of the alarm woke Ash Ketchum from his sleep. God, why must this alarm hate me? Was running around his mind as he slowly and sloppily got up from his bed. Ash turned and switched on the light of the room and covered his eyes as it was too bright for him. After his eyes got used to the brightness, Ash Ketchum slowly looked up at the calendar on his room and perked up actively. The calendar showed the date. 22th May 1997. Today was his 10th birthday. It was the 22nd of May. Today was the day he finally gets his trainer license. At the age of 10, anyone, or more specifically, any kid who wanted to be a Pokemon trainer, would get their official trainer license from the Nurse Joy of their city. Some lucky kids gets their Pokemon from the regional professor of the region. Lucky indeed. Once they are registered a trainer, said trainer can get their starter Pokemon from the one who sponsored them. This is where the regional professors come in. While Nurse Joy can award a trainer with any Pokemon the league hands her, most commonly Nidoran, Growlithe, Rhyhorn and Pokemon along the lines. Those who gets their license from the regional professor are offered the privilege of choosing one of the best, if not the best Pokemon their region have to offer, except pseudo-legendary and legendary of course. Any trainer getting a Pokemon from the regional professor of Kanto, namely Samuel Oak, are given the privilege of choosing from between the water-type Squirtle, the grass-type Bulbasaur and the fire-type Charmander. Squirtles are a good choice for a starter, given their calm and collected nature. The fact that their final stage Blastoise is one of the strongest water-type of Kanto also increases its popularity as a starter. Though Squirtle are cool and strong, one can never ignore the Pokemon that can counter the said Pokemon, Bulbasaur, the grass-type starter of Kanto. Their final evolution, Venusaur, an absolute tank in all its glory, is a Pokemon that can win you almost all your battles if you know how to properly utilize its potential to the fullest extent. The last of the Kanto starter, Charmander, the dragon-like creature with an attitude and power that fully backs up its dragon-like looks. Its final form, Charizard, a Pokemon which is desired by trainer even from outside of Kanto. The strongest trainers in the world, namely Samuel Oak, Lance Wataru, Cynthia Sharona, all had a Charizard in their team. Without say, Charizard have even more people drooling over him than pseudo-legendaries. A feat on its own. 5 whole years. I have waited 5 whole years for this day. Ash mentally chanted with a glint in his eyes. Of course, waiting for 5 years was not the only thing he did. He prepared for this day with full mind and soul. He and Charmander together, or Charmeleon to be exact. Charmander had evolved exactly 3 years and 8 months after hatching while training with Ash and his father, Dragonite. Ash was pretty surprised when it happened, but he was happy nonetheless. His brother was close to becoming the strongest Pokemon alive. Charmander, after passing his baby stage, started getting formal training from his parents. To master a simple Ember to an overpowered Dragon Pulse, he trained as hard as his small body would allow. Charmander had gotten his fire-based training from his mother while his father took care of his dragonic side. Over the course of time, he had grown significantly strong, stronger than normal Charmeleon can ever imagine to be. Charmeleon was not the only one who got better over the years though. Ash had also been training, mentally more than physically. Ash's mom, Delia Ketchum, had made sure that as his mother, it was her responsibility to ensure that her son is ready for any and all challenges that he would face in the Pokemon world. Through his mom, he learned the basic of survival, how to set a tent, reading maps, etc. Apart from learning how to survive in the wilderness, Ash also learned some stuff about Pokemon. Though he don't know the whole history of Kanto Pokemon, he can proudly claim that he knew all the Pokemon found in Kanto and their types. But his knowledge was only limited to their names and type. After all, how can a mere 10-year-old memorize all the information of all the Pokemon in a limited time span of 5 years? Ash's mom also made sure that her baby didn't go into the Pokemon world unprepared, as most children of his age would. She is a responsible mom after all. She made sure that Ash learned all the basic of battling, from type advantages to knowing the importance of preparing himself and his team before any battle. Ash smiled at the memories of all the times he would have to wake up early and prepare for the journey. Truly, he can't be more proud of himself and Chameleon. They had worked hard, really hard. Ash quickly changed to his outfit, Kanto Arc look, and went to the kitchen where his mother was preparing breakfast. "Ashie, I see you are awake. Good morning." Delia greeted her beloved son with a warm smile. "Yes, Mom. Good morning." Ashes greeted Delia back with a smile of his own. "Excited for your big day?" Delia questioned with a loving look. "You bet I am," Ash expressed while pumping his hand into the air. "Just you see, Mom. Charmeleon and I are gonna rock the world," Ash proclaimed with a smug and excited look. "Yes you will, son. I believe in you," Delia said, and continued with whatever she was making with a sad look. Now, Delia Ketchum was strong. Years of experience in this world made her a hardened and strong woman, physically, mentally and emotionally. But, the feeling of losing someone, she had already felt it, when Ash's dad left on a journey right after Ash's birth and never came back. She had grown to accept her fate and moved on, but now, even her own son is going to leave her behind, all alone in this small house in a small town. She was devastated on the inside. She maintained a strong image, to make her son believe that she is happy of the fact that he can finally go on to achieve his dream. To make sure that her son doesn't stop pursuing his dream because of her. She can't be that selfish. No, she won't allow that. This is why she adopted this mask of happiness. She wasn't going to be the reason her son gave up on his dream. She can weep for her son all she wants after he is gone. But now wasn't the time. She had to maintain a strong image, to make sure Ash believes that she is happy that he is leaving to achieve his dream. Delia Ketchum for the first time in her life tried to deceive her son. And Ash Ketchum was buying none of that. "Hey Mom," Ash starts while appearing from behind her. "Don't be sad. I will call you every day, you don't have to worry about me," Ash told his mother with a reassuring look. "What do you mean, Ash?" Delia asked, putting on a brave face. "You know exactly what I mean. Don't try to fool me by acting brave, Mom. I'll miss you too," Ash says and hugged Delia tightly. "Oh Ashie," Delia cried while returning the hug. "Call your mom daily. Please Ashie, will you do this for me?" Delia said between sobs. "Mom, I promise, I'll call you daily," Ash said and swore to keep this promise. After some minutes, which seemed like an eternity, the duo of mother and son finally let go of each other. Delia then served Ash his breakfast, probably his last meal in this household for a year. After savoring, or inhaling, "You decide," his meal, Ash said his final goodbyes with his mom and went to Professor Oak lab to get Charmeleon and mark the start of his journey. On the road to the lab, Ash was memorizing each and every detail of Pallet. He won't be seeing his loving town for a while, so he made sure to imprint his town in his brain. Ash smiled sadly looking at his small town. "I'll miss you, Pallet. Thank you for taking care of me during my early days." And similar thoughts was running in his mind. Finally, Ash reached Oak's lab. He slowly made his way to Professor Oak's personal working space. Ash saw Samuel drinking coffee while reading a newspaper in his chair. "Hey Professor, I am here," Ash announced his arrival sounding cheery. Professor Oak was a bit shocked at Ash's arrival. It was only 6:30 a.m. right now, 4 hours earlier than the designated time for the starter's distribution. Oak quickly got over the shock and smiled fondly. "Of course Ash Ketchum will arrive early." My, you arrived a little early," Oak mocked him jokingly. Ash had the decency to look sheepish. Hee hee. Well, you see, I got a bit excited and decided to start my journey as early as possible. Ash admits while rubbing his nape with a big grin. I won't say I am surprised. Oak chuckles warmly and continues. So I take it, you came to take Charmeleon, right? Of course, Professor, I am too excited, I can't wait to start my journey and challenge all the gyms. Ash exclaims while excitedly jumping in his spot. Oak simply chuckles and brings out a Pokeball from a machine behind him. You see, when children get their trainer license, it's the duty of their sponsor to give them a fresh and weak starter to start their journey with. Initially, I intended to let you start with Charmander, but the two of you compelled me to change my decision. Oak while examining the Pokeball he took out. Huh, I don't get it, Professor. Oak, what do you mean? Ash asked with a confused frown. What I mean is, my boy, I didn't expect Charmander to grow as strong as he is right now, let alone him evolving. So, I can't let you have Charmeleon as your starter. Oak explains. Hearing this, Ash had a shocked and betrayed look on his face. But it's not fair. Charmeleon and I are best friends. Please, Professor. I don't think I can start my journey without Charmeleon. Ash begs with a pleading look. Hold it right there, Ash, my boy. Let me complete myself. Oak says while chuckling, which made Ash develop a confused look. When I said that I can't let Charmeleon be your starter, I don't remember saying anything along timelines of him not joining your journey, did I? Professor, Oak said with a sly knowing smirk. You see, this Pokeball I am holding right now, this Pokeball contains a very special Pokemon. I got it from a very special person. Tell me this, my boy. Can I trust you to take utmost care of this Pokemon? Oak says while letting Ash examine the Pokeball in his hand. I'll trust your judgment for now and let Ash keep this Pokemon. Oak thinks in his mind. What Pokemon is it, Professor? Ash questions while excitedly looking at the Pokeball in Professor Oak's hand. Why don't you see it for yourself? Oak says and presses the release button of the Pokeball. A beam of red light shot out of the Pokeball and started materializing into a dog-like creature. The Pokemon that came out of the Pokeball was small, blue and had canine features. It had a black torso and legs, blue tail and a yellow collar. The Pokemon mutters while tilting its head. This Pokemon here is Riolu. Here, use this Pokédex to scan him. Oak says while handing Ash, who had a look on his face that read as being shocked and in awe, a red and white gadget and few Pokeballs. Okay, Professor. Ash agreed and took the Pokédex and Pokeball from Oak's hand. He had seen a Pokédex before, so he know the basics of operating it. After switching the Pokédex on, Ash pointed it towards Riolu. Riolu, the emanation Pokemon. A fighting type. Riolu can understand how people and Pokemon feel by observing a kind of wave called aura. It has a flexible body with enough power to cross 3 mountains and 2 canyons in one night. The mechanical voice of the device listed Riolu's description. Wow, you're incredible, Riolu. Ash exclaims and kneels down in front of Riolu. Riolu, hearing the praise, blushes lightly. Ash then puts his hands forward slowly, asking permission to pet him. Riolu, seeing the approaching hands, closes his eyes and allows Ash to pet him. Ash gently runs his palm up and down Riolu's black mask-like face. Hey Riolu, wanna be my starter? Ash questions while he stopped petting Riolu. Riolu looked up to Ash's and stared at his eyes for a few seconds. Slowly but surely, Riolu nodded its small head while happily speaking in its native language. All right, Ash excitedly exclaims and scoops Riolu into his arms and starts spinning around. Riolu. Riolu happily barked while Ash swinged him around. It seems the two of you are getting along well. Professor, Oak says while chuckling. Leave Ash to befriend any Pokemon that he sees. You bet we are, Professor. Ash replies while laughing in pure joy and excitement. Okay. Now, let me tell you a few things before you go on your journey. The Pokédex you are carrying is a special one, I programmed it myself for you. Normally a Pokédex can be used to scan a Pokémon from only a specific region and can also be used as your identity. But your Pokédex contains information of almost all the Pokémon in the world. Understood? Really, Professor? You did this for me? Ash questioned while marveling the Pokédex. Yes, Oak says with a smile. Oak thought of making 2 such Pokédex, one for Ash and another for his grandson, but decided against it. His grandson already had a big ego, and let's leave it at that. Elmo sucks to be you, Gary. Wow. Thank you so much, Professor. I don't even know what to say. Ash thanks with a big emotional smile. Think nothing of it, my son. Just repay me by making me proud. Oak says with a small fond smile. You can also use your Pokédex as your identification. Whenever Nurse Joy or anyone asks for your identity, you can show your Pokédex. Oak explains and Ash nods. Now about Riolu. The Lucario line are a very special Pokémon, being able to control their aura. But Riolu here is much more special than any other Pokémon of his kind. To demonstrate it, Professor, Oak says and starts typing in his computer. Ash looks at Professor without speaking any word with full concentration. Done. Ash, my boy, will you please scan Riolu again? Professor. Oak requests Ash, to which he nods. Ash brings his Pokédex up and starts scanning Riolu again. Riolu, the emanation Pokémon. A fighting type. Riolu can understand how people and Pokémon feel by observing a kind of wave called aura. It has a flexible body with enough power to cross 3 mountains and 2 canyons in one night. This Riolu is male and has the ability Inner Focus. This Riolu knows the moves Endure, Quick Attack, Force Palm and Aura Sphere. Wow, Professor Oak, the Pokédex is very cool. It can tell the moves, gender and ability of Pokémon too. Ash praises Oak's invention. Thank you, Ash. But back to the topic, the reason I said that your Riolu is special is because he knows the move Aura Sphere. Normally, the Riolu species are only supposed to learn Aura Sphere upon evolution, but it seems Riolu learned it without evolving. Special indeed, and the two of you are destined to be together. Oak explains but keeps the last part to himself. Wow, you heard that, Riolu. You are special. Ash praises Riolu, which made him blush. Haha. Anyways, I would wish for you to stay longer, but I have a lot of work to do. So, good luck with your journey. May you succeed in life, I know you will. For now, farewell. I'll miss you, Oak says and hugs Ash tightly, which he returns wholeheartedly. Now, go and meet up with Charmeleon and start your cool adventure. Oak releases the hug while chuckling. Okay, Professor Oak. Bye. I'll meet you soon, Ash says and runs out of the room to meet up with Charmeleon. After meeting up with Charmeleon, he explains him the situation with Riolu. Charmeleon happily greets Riolu and befriends him quickly. Ash then caught Charmeleon in one of the Pokeballs he got from Professor Oak and attached Charmeleon's Pokeball in a necklace round his neck. He planned on keeping a special place for Charmeleon, and what place is more special than near the heart? After catching Charmeleon and saying goodbye to Charizard and Dragonite, Ash went out of the lab. Once outside, Ash saw his mother along with a huge crowd chanting his name. Ash, Ash, Ash. Seeing this, Ash developed a small blush. Only his mother would do the most unthinkable things. Ash chuckles and runs to his mom. Mom, what is all this? Ash questions Delia. This is your farewell crowd. They are all here to bid you goodbye. Delia informs while laughing. The crowd went nuts and started chanting Ash's name louder. Ash, go get them. Be the greatest. Make Pallet proud, were the sounds emerging from the crowd. Ash smiles from ear to ear and shouts back, I won't disappoint you. He then turns his attention to his mom and hugs her tightly. Mom, I'll miss you. I'll miss you too, Ashy. Delia says while returning the hug. Delia controls her emotions and questions Ash. So, you got your starter. A small smirk grew up her lip as she said starter and started eyeing Riolu, who was hiding behind Ash's legs. You knew, Mom? Ash questions her, surprised. Of course I did. I am Professor Oak's assistant, remember? Delia mocks, scowls and reminds Ash. Ash simply slaps his face with his mouth forming an "oh" as if in realization and introduces Riolu to his mother. After a few more minutes talking with his mother, Ash decides to leave. The crowd had also dispersed, leaving the duo of mother and son alone. So, this is it, huh? Ash says and looks down. Oh Ash, please don't be sad, you are going out on your journey. Be a little happy. Remember what you told me this morning. You can call me whenever you want. You will be away from Pallet but not from my heart. Be brave, my boy, and rock the world. Won't you? Delia says while impersonating her son. Ash chuckles looking at his mother. Okay, Mom. Now, bye. I'll miss you. Ash says while hugging his mother again. Now hurry up and go. Don't delay your journey any further. I have packed all the necessary things in your backbag. If you need anything, just call me. I'll always be there. Delia says. Bye Ash. Ash nods and starts walking towards the exit of Pallet Town. As Ash neared the exit of Pallet he heard his mother shouting. And don't forget to change your, you know what daily.